Right now, somewhere in North Korea, a woman is being told that her skills don't belong to her anymore. Her body does. Her compliance does. But not her talent, not her freedom, not her future. This is the story of 38 women who were used as instruments in the single night. They chose to become human beings again. One of them was a pilot. She flew them all out. This happened. It is still happening. Your subscription amplifies these urgent voices. Every view, every share, every comment tells the algorithm that these stories matter. Join us in making them impossible to ignore. I was 22 when I started helicopter training. Female pilots were rare back then. Just being selected felt like an honor. The training was brutal, but I held my own. I drilled until the sensation of flight was written into my body. When I gripped the controls, the aircraft and I became one thing. My superiors had high expectations. You'll be the pride of this unit. Every time I heard those words, something burned in my chest. But it didn't last. At 25, I got married. A year later, my daughter was born. When I came back from maternity leave, everything had changed. Someone else was sitting in my cockpit. I was reassigned to aviation support paperwork, logistics, the background work. I tried to push back. I'm a certified pilot. My political education officer smiled quietly and said, "Comrade, you're a mother now. Staying quiet is the best thing you can do for your child." It didn't take long to understand what he meant. Sit in that cockpit and you stand out and you become a problem. Stay in the support role, keep your head down, and nobody touches you. I accepted it. I had no choice. My 3-year-old daughter was waiting for me at home. Keeping her smile safe mattered more to me than flying. And just like that, I went from someone who could fly to someone who didn't. Every morning I showed up at the hangar, wiped down the aircraft, checked components, filed paperwork. Every time I walked past the cockpit, my hands ached for it, but I looked away. That seat isn't mine anymore. I'm a mother. Mothers stay quiet. I said it to myself enough times that I almost believed it. There were 37 other women serving alongside me. Each of them had her own reason for being there. The medics assisted with wound care. The mechanics handled tools and cleanup. The communication staff logged basic radio traffic. We were all support personnel far from the front line, far from anything that mattered. Replaceable. Safe, or so we thought. Invisible meant untouchable. Myung-hee's husband had been taken to a political prison camp. She was raising 2 kids alone. They told me that if I work hard here, it might reduce his sentence. She held on to that and got through each day. Sun-ok's father was a decorated war hero, but he'd recently come under investigation for a remark someone called subversive. If his daughter serves well in the military, maybe it covers for him. Her voice was tight with desperation. Every one of us had something to protect, something more precious than ourselves. Children, parents, spouses. For them, we could give up anything, including the ability to fly. Life in the unit was monotonous. Up at 5 a.m. for roll call, breakfast, then each of us scattered to her assigned area. My job was interior inspection, checking seats, verifying emergency equipment, dusting off the comm panels. The cockpit was always in my line of sight. I worked hard not to look at it. When I caught a pilot preparing for takeoff, something in my chest clenched. My hands wanted to move on their own, but I'd picture my daughter's face. This is the right choice. If I stay quiet, she stays safe. Evenings, back to the barracks. 8 women in one small room. We barely talked about anything personal. That was the unspoken rule. Knowing too much about someone was dangerous. But in the silence, we understood each other. Same eyes, same size, same weight. Some nights I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Is this really a life? Can it be right to have the ability to fly and choose not to? But that question always got buried under another one. Right and wrong don't matter. What matters is that my daughter grows up safe. The seasons turned. Spring came and went. Summer faded. Autumn arrived. Our days never changed. Same time, same tasks, over and over. In that repetition, I went numb. The cockpit stopped making my chest ache. The sound of rotor blades stopped making my hands twitch. I tried to forget that I could fly at all. One day, Myung-hee said quietly, "We just do what we're told. No questions. No doubts. Just the role we're given." She was right. We were components. Not components that thought, components that functioned. Another year passed. 5 years since my pilot training, and I hadn't touched the controls once. Sometimes that brought relief. Sometimes it left a hollow feeling. But I accepted even the hollow. This was the path I'd chosen. To protect my daughter. To live without drawing attention. To get through each day clean. What I didn't know then was that choosing not to fly would eventually force me back into the sky. The shift began in late autumn. One morning at assembly, a superior announced, "Night. Aviation support missions are being expanded. All personnel prepare for rotating shifts." It sounded routine. Missions always expanded. But something was different. Night flights had run 3 or 4 times a month. Now they were happening 2 or 3 times a week, deep into the night, past midnight. The first time I was assigned to a night mission, my job was the same as always: interior inspection. Check the seats. Verify the emergency gear. The helicopter lifted off and flew for a while. Then the altitude dropped suddenly and we landed somewhere in the dark. Through the window-open fields, not a light in sight. The cabin door opened. 4 people in civilian clothes were loaded on. 2 men, 2 women, as best I could tell. Too dark to see faces, but I could feel them trembling. I was told to buckle their seatbelts. When I reached one of the women, she grabbed my hand. "Please." Her voice was shaking. She looked like she had more to say, then went silent. I gently removed her hand and fastened her belt. And I felt it, these people hadn't boarded by choice. The helicopter lifted off again and flew to another location. About an hour later, we landed. The door opened. The 4 of them were taken out. Where they were going, why, I had no idea, and I couldn't ask. The same pattern repeated the next night, and the night after that. Different people each time, but the same shape takeoff in the dark. Pick up civilians somewhere in the void, drop them somewhere else. No one said where they were going. No one asked. Then something strange happened. We returned to one of the same locations. I expected to see something: a building, a vehicle, any trace of the people we'd left there days before. Nothing. No light, no people, not even footprints. As if they'd never existed. That's when the question started growing in me. Where did they go? Why is there no trace? I knew thinking like that was dangerous. I tried to shut it down. You don't need to know. Just do your job. I told myself that. But one day Myung-hee pulled me aside and whispered, "One of the people we transported last week, I recognized her." Who was she? Someone from my old neighborhood. I heard she'd been caught trying to cross the border. We both knew in that moment exactly who we were transporting and where they were going. After that, I dreaded the night missions. My hand shook every time I boarded. I couldn't make eye contact with the passengers. Looking at their faces felt like something I wasn't allowed to do, like remembering them was forbidden. But memory doesn't follow orders. A young man's eyes wide with terror. A woman cradling a child, hands trembling. An old man's face already resigned. Those images carved themselves in, and I started glancing at the cockpit again, the one I'd spent years refusing to look at. If I were sitting in that seat, if I were the one flying this aircraft, the thought kept returning. Strange, I'd spent years deciding not to fly, and now I wanted to. More precisely, for the first time, the fact that I could fly felt less like a burden and more like a possibility. One night, 7 passengers. One of them was a child. A girl, maybe 10 years old. A woman who was clearly her mother held her tight. When I moved to buckle the child's belt, she looked up at me. It was pitch dark, but her eyes were clear. A look that wanted to ask something, but knew better than to ask. In that instant, my daughter's face appeared. What if that were my daughter sitting there? What if someone were taking my daughter into the dark like this? My chest dropped. Back in the barracks that night, I couldn't sleep. What am I doing? What am I using this ability for? I'd believed that staying out of the cockpit was how I protected my daughter. Now I wasn't sure. Is this really right? Is staying silent, pretending not to see, following orders? Is that really how I keep her safe? That night, for the first time, I understood the fact that I could fly was no longer a burden. It might be the only way out. But that was a terrifying thought. I didn't know where it led if I followed it all the way. So I pushed it away again. Not yet. I can hold on a little longer. But somewhere underneath I knew. Something had shifted that couldn't be shifted back. Winter arrived. The night missions grew more frequent. We were wearing down. The cold, the late hours, the physical toll. But harder than all of that was what it did to the mind. Every time we loaded passengers, every time we dropped them off, we eroded a little more. But none of us could say it out loud. Saying it would make it real. Then one night, a 24-year-old medic named Yoonju returned from a mission. She was usually bright, steady. Not that night. She stumbled getting off the helicopter and went straight to her bunk, eyes fixed on the ceiling. "Yoonju, are you okay?" Myung-hee asked. Nothing. The next day and the day after, Yoonju didn't speak. At meals, at roll call, she stared at nothing. About a week later, she came to my bunk in the dark. "The eyes," she whispered. "Someone's eyes." I didn't follow her. "Whose eyes?" "The person I treated. I gave the injection and their eyes stayed open. They kept looking at me." Her voice was shaking. "What was the injection for?" I asked carefully. She bit her lip. "I don't know. I didn't know the name of the drug. I just did what I was told. But that person started to. She couldn't finish. I didn't sleep that night. An injection with no name. Eyes that stayed open. The pieces assembled themselves into something I didn't want to see." A few days later, Yunju was pulled from the night flight roster. Health reasons, they said. A week after that, she was transferred. No explanation of where or why. The night she left, the room was heavy. 8 women, no one talking, everyone in her own bunk staring at the ceiling. Myung-hee said quietly, "We'll each end up like that someday." No one answered. But we were all thinking the same thing. I knew it too. Stay here long enough and we'd each break one by one. Maybe disappear like Eunju. After that, the atmosphere changed on the surface, the same. But something had cracked. When we caught each other's eyes, there was an understanding that didn't need words. We are in danger. We are not safe. One afternoon, Sunok and I were alone cleaning the hangar. After a long silence, she asked, "Can you actually fly?" An unexpected question. "Why do you ask?" Just curious. But her eyes said something else. I hesitated, then nodded. "I can. It's been 5 years, but I can." "Still now?" "I think so. The body remembers." She nodded, said nothing more. But we both knew this wasn't curiosity. This was a different kind of question. That night in my bunk, maybe there'll come a moment when I have to choose. But I didn't want to think about where that choice led. Too frightening. So I pushed it away again. But I felt it something irreversible had started. One by one, more women cracked after night missions. Stopped eating. Nightmares. Each one was transferred somewhere. 38 of us became 35. Then 33. The ones who left didn't come back. No news of them. As if they'd never been there at all. That's when I knew stay here long enough and we'd all disappear eventually. Some way, someday, we'd each be erased. And before that happened, we'd be made to do something we couldn't undo. That night, we looked at each other around the room and thought the same thing without saying it. "Isn't it time to leave?" But no one said it out loud. Saying it out loud would make it a choice you couldn't take back. Then in mid-February, an announcement came down, all personnel. Emergency response training. Thursday, 2 p.m., hangar assembly. At first it seemed like nothing. Just another routine drill. But Myung-hee said quietly, "Why would they suddenly run emergency training? For everyone?" She had a point. Only 5 of us were medics. The rest had completely different roles. There was no reason to put all 38 through medical training. Thursday came. We assembled in the hangar. 2 instructors stood at the front. Today's training is hands-on emergency response. Not theory practical. I still wasn't worried. CPR, wound pressure, something like that. Then the doors opened and a man was carried in on a stretcher. Civilian clothes. Eyes open, conscious or not, hard to tell. The mechanic next to me, Soo-jin, caught her breath. That person I buckled her belt last week. During the night mission. My stomach dropped. Someone we had transported was now lying there as a training subject. "Today we practice drug injection," the instructor said. "Each of you will come forward in order and administer the injection as directed." Only 5 of us had any medical training. Why were all 38 injecting someone? "What is this drug?" asked Jin-hee, the senior medic. "You don't need to know the name. Learn the dosage and the method. A drug without a name." My whole body went cold. This isn't medicine, I knew it instantly. "Begin." Number 1, step forward. The first woman took the syringe with shaking hands. The instructor pointed to the injection site. She did as she was told. The person on the stretcher blinked slowly. Their body twitched in pain. 2, 3, it continued. Each injection made the person's condition worse. Breathing grew labored. Sweat broke out on their face. The instructor kept calling the next person forward. Around the 10th turn, it was Mi-young's turn. 7 months pregnant, barely able to walk. She stepped forward. The instructor held out the syringe. She didn't take it. "This isn't training." Her voice shook, but it was clear. "This is a person, a living person." The hangar went silent. Every breath held. "Comrade," the instructor said coldly, "are you refusing an order?" "It's not an order, it's harming someone. How can I do this when I don't even know what the drug is or why I'm giving it?" The instructor stepped close to Mi-young and said quietly, "Precisely, your husband, he's a party official. right? Your in-laws are in Pyongyang. Refuse and we start with your family. Understood? Mi-young went pale. Her hands trembled. She pressed them over her belly. Watching that was unbearable. I stepped forward. I'll do it. My own voice, but it didn't sound like mine. It's not your turn, the instructor said. It's inappropriate to ask a pregnant woman to do this. I'll go in her place. He studied me for a moment, then held out the syringe. I took it. My hand was shaking. I looked down at the person on the stretcher. They looked back. I'll never forget that look, resignation and fear and sorrow all at once. The needle touched skin. My hand stopped. I couldn't do it. Not for my family. Not because it was an order. I couldn't. Why aren't you doing it? I set the syringe down. I can't. You have a daughter, don't you? His voice dropped. I heard you have a daughter. My whole body locked up. I understood what it meant when he named my daughter. But at the same moment, I understood something else. If I do this to protect her, what does protecting her even mean? Does it mean anything if I become a monster to do it? My daughter, my voice was shaking. My daughter wouldn't want a mother like this. Behind me, a voice. I can't do it either. Myung-hee. Then another. Me neither. I can't. One by one, voices rose. By the end, all 38 of us had refused. The instructor's face hardened. Do you understand what you're doing? This is mass insubordination. We didn't move. For the very first time, we were one. That day, we were called in for investigation. But strangely, there was no immediate punishment. Maybe 38 people at once was too many to process. That night, Sunoke came to me. You can really fly, right? I nodded. Then let's all go. Together. If we stay here, we become perpetrators. She was right. We couldn't hold on any longer. We couldn't stay silent any longer. That night, all 38 of us made our first and final collective decision escape. 3 days later, orders came down. Night aviation transport, all personnel board. Something was different this time. All 38 of us were supposed to fly. That had never happened before. Myung-hee grabbed my arm. Is this our chance? I don't know, but we have to be ready. We'd been quietly preparing for days, going through our routines, as if nothing had changed, communicating in glances. If a chance comes, don't hesitate. That was the agreement. At 8 p.m., we moved to the hangar. The helicopter was waiting. 2 certified pilots were running pre-flight checks. Then, 20 minutes before departure, a superior walked in and said something to the pilots. They stepped out. The superior called me over. You had pilot training, didn't you? Yes. You'll handle co-pilot duties tonight. The certified pilots are needed elsewhere. My heart slammed. Was this a coincidence, or was someone pulling strings? I couldn't know. But what mattered was simple. The cockpit was empty and I was standing in front of it. Understood. I kept my voice flat. Settling into the seat, I can't describe that feeling. 5 years since I'd touched the controls, but my hands knew exactly what to do, where everything was, how it all moved. The body remembered. I turned and looked back. 37 women, all watching me. I could read what was in their eyes. Fear, hope, desperation. I gave a small nod. Myung-hee nodded back. Clearance came. I pulled the controls slowly. The helicopter rose. The ground fell away, swallowed by darkness. And in that moment, a strange calm arrived. There's no going back now. I felt it and I wasn't afraid. If anything, I felt clear. I held the prescribed heading, then began adjusting barely, almost imperceptibly. South, south. About 10 minutes in, an alarm screamed. Hostile contact aft. Warning lights flashed across the panel. Something was following us. North Korean pursuit aircraft. Screaming from the back. There's something behind us. Sujin's voice breaking apart. My heart was pounding, but my hand stayed steady on the controls. It's okay. Keep going. Inside, I knew if they caught us, it was over. I pushed for speed. The pursuit closed anyway. The radar showed it narrowing. Someone was vomiting in the back. Someone else was praying. Myung-hee held her son's photograph in both hands. Then a second alarm, high-speed, multiple contacts closing from ahead. The radar showed aircraft approaching fast from the front. South Korean Air Force fighters, closing from both directions at once. The cabin broke into panic. What do we do? Are we going to die? Do something! Voices tangled. My hands started shaking too. Forward danger, backward danger, and then a third problem. The fuel warning light started blinking. We were burning through reserves faster than expected, probably from the speed surge. Fuel critical, I said. The back went silent. Everyone knew what that meant. If the fuel ran out, we fell. The airframe was rattling, engine temperature climbing, hydraulic pressure unstable, red lights one after another. What happens if we turn back now? Someone asked. Sunoke answered, we get detained the moment we land, and you know what comes after that. She was right. Turn around now and we're traitors. All 38 of us punished. Our families too. Forward was closed. Backward was closed. Fuel dying. Aircraft failing. Completely boxed in. My mind went white. How do we get through this? How do I get everyone out alive? Then a voice from the back. The oldest among us, Youngja, 52 years old. Everyone. Her voice was somehow calm. Let's stop running. What? They're chasing us from behind and closing from ahead. Because we're running, let's stop first. Let's show them we're not a threat. A beat of silence fell over the cabin. Then, are you saying surrender? She shook her head. Not surrender. We're requesting protection. We're unarmed. We have no intention of harming anyone. We just want to live as human beings. Let's show them that. It struck me like a physical thing. She was right. We weren't running away. We were trying to come back to ourselves. What are you going to do? Myung-hee asked. I looked at the panel. Fuel still dropping. Pursuit still closing. Fighters still approaching from ahead. The moment had arrived. Run or stop. Fight or raise our hands. I took a slow breath. We stop. My voice filled the cabin. Youngja is right. Let's stop first. I eased the controls. Started bleeding off speed slowly, smoothly, no sudden moves. The pursuit closed, but I kept decelerating. It's still behind us, Sujin called out. That's fine. We're showing them we're not a threat. My hands were damp with sweat, but I didn't let go. Next external equipment drop. We had to make it clear we carried nothing offensive. Prepare to drop external stores, I said. Sunoke took the jettison lever. Now? Now. She pulled it. The auxiliary fuel tanks and support equipment broke away from the airframe. The helicopter shuddered, then steadied. Lighter now. But it also meant there was no going back. We'd just thrown away our reserve fuel. What we had left pointed only one direction, forward. I reached for the radio. Emergency common frequency, anyone on any side could hear it. My hand was shaking. The moment I transmit, it's over. The North will hear it. The South will hear it. No undoing it. But it had to be done. It was the only way any of us survived. I keyed the mic. This is a border region transport helicopter. A pause. The next words would decide everything. No armament. We will comply with control. 2 sentences. But inside them, we are not a threat. We surrender. We need protection. All of that compressed into 2 lines. I set down the mic. The cabin not even a breath. Everyone waiting. 10 seconds. 20. 30. A minute felt like an hour. Then the forward radar shifted. The South Korean fighters were moving not toward us, but ahead of us, repositioning. Were they going to attack? No. They formed up ahead of our helicopter, an escort formation. They weren't blocking us. They were shielding us. There, look, Myung-hee pointed. The aft radar the North Korean pursuit aircraft had stopped. It wasn't following anymore. The South Korean fighters had stepped between us. We were being protected. Really genuinely protected. And in that moment, I understood we hadn't run. We had made the right choice. No fighting, no harming, we'd only asked for protection. And it had been accepted. Listen, everyone, Youngja said. We're safe. We did it. Weeping broke out around the cabin, the tension releasing all at once. My vision blurred, but I held it. We still had to land. One of the South Korean fighters eased alongside us. I could see the pilot. The pilot signaled with a hand, follow me. I nodded and fell in behind. South, keep going south. The radar picked up a large runway ahead. Lights visible now. Osan Air Base. The voice on the radio, in Korean. You are cleared to land. Use runway 3. They were letting us in. I brought down the altitude. The runway rose to meet us. 5 years away from a cockpit, but my body remembered. How to descend. How to bleed off speed. The landing gear kissed the tarmac smooth, clean. I cut the engines. Everything went quiet. Rotors slowing. Vibration gone. Alarms off. In the stillness, we looked at each other. All 38. No one hurt. Through the windows, people approaching. Military uniforms. White coats. But no weapons. In their hands, blankets and water bottles. Can we open the door? Sunoke asked. Yes, I said. Open it. The door swung open. Cold air poured in and it felt clean. Like free air. A South Korean soldier stepped up. "You're safe. Please come out slowly." A warm voice, no threat in it. They came out one by one, steadying each other. I stayed in the cockpit and watched all 37 clear the aircraft. Then it was my turn. I stood up. My legs had nothing left. 5 years from the seat, then a flight like this wound as tight as I'd ever been, and now, all at once, every bit of tension draining out. I opened the cockpit door, started down the steps. My knee buckled on the second one. I grabbed the railing. A South Korean soldier caught me. "Are you all right?" I tried to nod, but my voice wouldn't come. My lips trembled. My vision blurred. I got both feet on the ground and I couldn't hold it anymore. I sat down on the tarmac. The concrete was cold. That coldness felt real. I'm actually here. We actually made it. The feeling of it arrived all at once. My hands shook. My whole body shook. I wasn't going to cry. As the pilot, as the one responsible until the end, I told myself I couldn't fall apart. But then I heard a sound beside me. Quiet, soundless weeping. Myung-hee, tears streaming down her face. Seeing her broke something inside me. My own tears came. I couldn't stop them. Then Soo-jin, we're alive. We're really alive. More crying broke loose around us. One, then another, then all 38 at once. Some wept aloud. Some shed tears in silence. Some sank to the ground and sobbed. 5 years for some of us, 10 every suppressed thing releasing at once. Fear, relief, grief, joy, guilt, freedom, all of it pouring out as tears. Young-ja looked up at the sky. Is it okay to be human beings now? Everyone cried harder. Yes, that was what we'd wanted. We had refused to become monsters, refused to become perpetrators. We'd only ever wanted to live as human beings. The South Korean soldiers didn't stop us. They brought blankets and draped them over our shoulders. Someone passed water. Someone extended a warm hand. That warmth made the tears come faster. Then Mi-young, hand on her belly, said, "This baby will be born here, in a free place." Another wave of weeping. Mi-young's child would never have to be the child of a perpetrator, would never have to touch the world with stained hands. Sunoke took my hand. "Thank you. Thank you for flying us here." "No," I shook my head. "We all flew here together." That was true. I held the controls, but I couldn't have done it alone. 38 people made the decision together. 38 people found the courage together. 38 people flew here together. The weeping eased slowly. Tears still fell, but the sobbing quieted. And then the youngest among us, Jong-ah, 23 years old, asked in a trembling voice, "We don't have to hurt anyone anymore, do we?" The question hung in the air. We don't have to hurt anyone. The most natural question in the world, but for us it had never been natural. We had always been positioned to harm someone. Directly or indirectly, we'd been inside the chain. A South Korean soldier stepped forward. "That's right," he said gently. "You don't have to. You're safe." At that, Jong-ah burst into open tears. The others followed. But this wave of crying was different. It carried relief alongside the grief. My tears came again too. Everything I'd held in from the cockpit breaking loose. The 5 years I had given up flying to protect my daughter. The days of being able to fly and choosing not to. The guilt of loading and unloading passengers. The fear and the resolve of the moment. I gripped those controls for the last time. All of it streaming out. "We don't have to fly anymore, do we?" Soo-jin asked. "No," I said. "We don't." But then my voice caught. "And if we ever do fly again, it'll be to save people, not harm them." Myung-hee took out her son's photograph. Creased and worn, but she'd kept it safe. "Can I bring him here?" she asked a soldier. "We'll do everything we can," the soldier said. "It will take time, but we'll find a way." At that, Myung-hee wept again. This time, the tears were made of hope. The sun began to rise. Darkness lifting, the eastern sky brightening. We sat on the runway and watched it come up together. A new morning, a new beginning. Each of us had come here for a different reason. But we shared one thing, the desire to live as human beings. Not as perpetrators, not as instruments, not as numbers, as people with names, and now we could. Young-ja stood up. "It's just starting, isn't it?" "Yes," I answered. "It's just starting." A long journey had ended and a new one was beginning. We helped each other to our feet. Tears still fell, but we could smile now too. We had survived. We had come back to ourselves. We could move forward. That was enough. 38 women that day chose to fall from the sky. Rather than become the hand that harmed, what they wanted to protect was their families. But what they ended up protecting was the last piece of their humanity. The pilot flew again after 5 years away. 37 women trusted her and flew alongside her. Their tears were not fear, they were relief, not grief but liberation. That moment of returning to themselves is one none of us should ever forget. Thank you to everyone watching until the end.